Hi, welcome back to Hear Our Voices, where we listen to stories, give resources, and change the narrative of homelessness. And this week we are back at part 2 of the Narrative Lab and listening to our guests. So sit back, relax, get some popcorn, get you something to drink, or it could actually be at the gym and just pop us on into your ears and hear what we have to talk about. Also, I want to say follow us on our social media platform and see us, come on, what we do every week on our Instagram, on our YouTube, on our TikTok, and things like that. Thank you for coming in and listening to us. Thank you for just being a part of our community. Also, we're trying to grow over there. So please join us and comment on our things and tell us what you think and what you would like to see coming up in the future. So, yes, thank you guys. Bye. Well, not really bye, right? See you in the next episode. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoy.
To trauma, which is where, I love that, Khadijah, because I feel like helping people know how important their story is and that their story matters, right? Like their story matters. I remember I have a friend who's really good friends now, and she and I worked together for a long while, and she was a single mom working as a house cleaner, and she was working as a house cleaner to get by.
Right.
And when she and I first started working together, now she's a writer and she's doing so beautifully. But when she and I first started working together around her writing, she wanted to like make a living as a writer. So when she and I were first working together, I was telling her about a book that these professors in Michigan wrote about people in this country living on $2 a day. Listen, when I say, I'm going to repeat that one more time. There are people in this country who live on $2 a day, and they wrote a whole book about it.
Wow.
So I'm talking to her about the story, about this book. And I said, I know that you've struggled in life to get by, right? It'd be interesting for you to write about this book. And she said to me, oh, no, I couldn't, because I didn't get by on $2 a day. I probably got by more on like $5 a day.
Wow, $3 more?
Okay, thank you. And I was like, what? She said, no, I was more like $5 a day. And I was like, okay, my friend, you know that you're not there now and you're kind of past that, but $5 a day is like that. We live in a country where people also are living on $5 a day is like not acceptable.
It's not.
And so she was like, you think people will be interested in that story? And I was like,
yes.
And so it was through us working together, right? She wrote these amazing stories. She's this wonderful writer. And I all I did was to like help her bring that out and recognize, right? Sometimes, you got to tell your story to other people,
right?
But for them to recognize, like, there's a story for you to tell there, because sometimes we get so caught up or stuck in our thing, and we're like, nobody cares about this, nobody cares about us, this is a terrible thing, why would I even want to talk about it? And so the power of her writing about this experience and coming out of it on the other side, there's a lot of power in that. So people recognizing that, like, no matter who you are, how important your voice is in shaping the narrative of how people understand homelessness is invaluable. It's so valuable.
It's so interesting that she really didn't realize how close that. I thought she was gonna say at least $10, $50 a day. No, for just $5. It's literally a couple of.
I love her. My friend was like $5 a day, and I was like, wait, stop. So hold on for a minute, okay?
And the sad thing, a lot of people, we don't live on a lot of money a day. A lot of the times, if you think about my mind, I think about when you get your paycheck, and then your rent is like one of the first big things that come out, right? And when you calculate how much money you have left over to calculate for each day, it's really not that much money a lot of us have to survive on each day. Like if we think about how much we really calculate, if you really divide that in 30 days, 31 days or 29 or 28, depending on what month or year we're in, right? But say average 30 days. A lot of people don't have over $100 each day to spend for each day. So we are living literally under $100 a day if you think about it. For a lot of people in America.
Yeah. And
in
in
a place
like New York City.
I was gonna say that, yeah.
You were gonna say that, right? Yeah.
Yes. It's and we know a Starbucks drink by itself is like $6. So that's how do we survive? I don't know how we make it. That's why a lot of people have to have more than one job to survive. Like myself, you have to have a couple of jobs just to keep your head above water. Not even you're almost drowning, but you're just not there. You're just like right here, just hanging along, trying to really float. And it's kind of sad that we have to live this way. We need to. I know this is not even about this, guys, but the cola. The cola, works with people's jobs and how they should be getting paid and things like that. Yes. And that a lot of people in New York City live, they work for the city, but they also live in shelter. That's a problem. Because if you work for the city, people think of city jobs, pension, 401k, they think of all these things, but yet they're not getting paid enough to survive in the city that they live in. That's also a problem. So all of these things intersect with each other that a family can't, a mom, because a lot of people in the shelter are single moms. Let's be honest. And I can't say about the other states, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people are homeless in general in other states who are families. But in New York City, we have a high total of people who are families, single moms in shelter. And you know that we have the newcomers in, they're also parents, kids, and not usually more than one kid. So the shelter population is booming in New York City, and people are not getting paid the proper amount they need to get paid. I'm not even thinking about the newcomers because that's a different situation. They have to have work permits. People who are already been here for a while are citizens of America or resident of America, and they can't put two nickels to put together because you're not paying them properly, but you care about their pension plan. Let's think about this. If they die before that pension plan happens, who's going to bury them? Where's the money coming from? Well, you got to think about, we got to think about the future because that's very important. I'm not going to say sit here and say future's not important. We got to think about right now, though. How can they pay rent? How can they buy clothes? How can they get deodorant? How can they get soap? These are things people have to pay for on a daily basis to survive. How are they going to get from here to there without a MetroCard in New York City? And the fare went up last year. But your paycheck is not going up. So your paycheck is not going up, but everything else is going up. This is a problem. This is also feeding into homelessness. People can't put they're living paycheck to paycheck. They think about, should I get food to pay rent? Because if I die from not eating, I can't pay rent anyway. So I'm thinking about my food will go first, and I might have to go homeless. These are things people have to literally think of every single day. And worse, if you have kids, your kids got to eat. Because if your kids go to school and not eat and look malnourished, guess what? You have an ACS case. So now you don't have money for food, no money for rent, no money for deodorant, and you got an ACS case.
Yeah, all of that is like, it's so real. And the other thing too is that, you make such a strong point, and we that are working in this space, we don't connect these dots enough. Right. We don't connect enough that rent is going up, jobs are not paying you enough. Right. So if you don't make enough to pay these rents, what's going to happen? You're going to get evicted. Right. And if you don't have a place to go couch surfing, and shelters are bursting at the seams, where are you going to go? Like, those are, like, I think people understand that pretty intuitively, but they don't make that connection, right? Because they think, oh, people that are experiencing homelessness have mental health issues, or they're using drugs. Right. And it's like, stop, right, pump the brakes for a moment, right? Because these are all reasons why we are seeing more and more people experiencing homelessness. And in a place like New York and other big cities, you have the added stressor of people that are also coming in from other countries. And the bad part about what I'm seeing happening in a lot of communities is that now a lot of there's a lot of like blame going around. So basically you have people that are vulnerable blaming people that are vulnerable, or even worse, people in power blaming people that are vulnerable who are blaming people that are vulnerable. Because now it's like, oh, the reason you don't have a house or a place to live is because these new people came in.
Yes.
When, come on now, we've been around New York City for quite a while. When you gonna get the house anyway? We don't
Exactly.
want like, come on, gives you like a nice convenient scapegoat.
Right.
Right. So there's also this whole other kind of element that is being thrown into the mix, and that's where it becomes really important for all people that are vulnerable, all people that are facing these crises and trauma. Like, we do a lot better, and we have done this in the past, when we come together to try to fight for the things that we need,
Right.
than doing what the powers that be want us to do, which is kind of like come against each other. And that doesn't that helps the people that want to deflect. That doesn't help us.
Right. Exactly. I'm happy that you brought up that point. I think people forget what New York really is. New York is a place where the immigrants flock to all the time. Before this, what we have right now, they've been doing this. We were a point of entry from back in the day. Ellis Island was a place.
Way back in the day.
Right. We are a melting people. New York is known for this, to be a melting pot of people. A lot of people are first and second generation. That means it's not that far back that you're going anyway to think about that. So what they are doing is making us fight a lot of the times, because it seems like on one side, oh my God, the newcomers come and they're getting all these things. And people, I think, sometimes forget about, a lot of people are running away from something. So they literally left everything behind. So the things they are kind of giving them in some ways is just like the bare minimum. But because they're getting it, it just seems like, oh my God, they're getting all these things. But also, you got to see on the other hand, people are in shelter who seem like they feel like have gotten nothing. And it's like people who are coming newer, it's like they're getting something. So it's like, I see both sides. I never want to take one side.
Yeah,
because,
absolutely.
Because people are running, when you're running for your life and you come to a country and it's like, they're not really helping me, but I got something. So I'm like, I'm kind of happy about it. And it's like, the people who are here already, who, especially if they're undocumented, I feel more worse for them because they don't have nothing. And it seems like, in a way, sometimes they're not really, society's not helping them as much as people who just got here. And they are also suffering. So it's a whole thing. We do need to stop fighting.
And imagine if all of these different groups came together.
Yes.
To call and demand for the same thing that is going to help all of us succeed and thrive, which is a safe and stable place we could afford to live in.
Right.
Because whether you've been here 100 years and 7,000 generations, whether you've been here yesterday, you just got here yesterday, whether you are here and you have papers, here or don't have papers, here and have a job, don't have a job, like, at the end of the day, every human needs a place to live, to succeed, to thrive. So imagine if in a place in like New York City, where you have so many populations of people that are experiencing housing insecurity and homelessness, older adults, young people, moms with kids, people who are undocumented or asylum seekers, new immigrants who maybe have been here or not been here, for any length of time. All extraordinarily vulnerable people in that, not vulnerable like they're weak. I don't mean that. I mean vulnerable like they don't have a stable place to live. That makes you vulnerable.
It does.
Imagine if all of those people came together, like with community power through organizing, they came together to start demanding, like, you know what, we actually need the city to have a real plan to convert buildings that are not being used, to convert hotels, to provide more incentives for landlords to take vouchers, like go through the whole list of potential opportunities, but that instead of 100 of us coming from one direction and 100 coming from another direction, it's 200 people all coming together in one place through that front door, right? There's a lot of power in that.
I so agree with that. Like, example, the other day, they came together for the 60-day rules. That was for the asylum seekers not to get put out of shelter. But in my mind, even though it's two different rules, but it's the same, they were saying, which is true, when asylum seekers get put out, the kids who are going to certain schools have to either reroute to a different school, depending on where they place you, at the new shelter, or try to find your way to that school if you can. But transportation in the morning and your child going to school can be a lot. So it's better if they stay at one shelter to get a child can stay at that school, right? But also another problem on the other hand of people who are going into the PAP system is that they have a 10-day rule, which is much shorter than the 60-day rule. That if you don't get eligible, they can kick you out. You have to do the process all over again. Or you could go to a fair hearing, depending on that time goes, and then you get eligible for that. So to me, even though it's two different rules, the problem is still the same. That with the path, as you know, is for children, with families with children under 21, that if your child's in school, they're gonna miss school because every time you go to these things, you have to bring your kid.
Yes,
There's a rule that
100%.
you don't have to bring it, but some people, the workers, get upset that you don't have the kids. It's a whole thing. People are on the same page with this guide, which is ridiculous as it is. But after a certain amount of days, you have to go back in, and they can move your child to a different area, because that's how they do. They're supposed to put your child near the school that they're in, but a lot of times they do not. And if you need help to get transferred, guys, and you're listening to this, hit me up. I have somebody to help you with that. But so if you put those two things together, even though they're two different kind of rules for two different kind of people, if you work together, you can put at the under umbrella is that you can put that children need to stay in school and need to be not moving from place to place, and it affects their education. If you put it together, even those two different problems, two different systems, if we all work together for just helping out our children, at the end of the day, no matter where you come from, you love your child. You could come from Africa, you could come from Jamaica, it doesn't matter. America, everybody at the end of the day love their kid, and they want the best for their kid. So we came together saying, this is the rule we want to be stopped or get better at, and we're going to make sure this doesn't affect our kids in a certain way. I think that's one of the things we can come together as a solution kind of thing to get on board for those particular things. I think we do need to work harder and work together to make sure we can make a difference in these particular things. I feel like, especially in New York City, we have so much different men's, women's. We fight for the same thing, but literally they put it in different segues, so that makes it harder for us to get what we need to actually make our communities better. And that's the problem for me.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's 100%. If there was a way to bring all of those pieces together so that
Right.
the rules also apply equally and fairly for everyone.
Right.
And that you don't have to bring your kid. Why would, right? I mean, I
Yes.
get in some cases you need to bring your kid because you may not have a speaker, a staff member who understands what you're saying, right? So I get that, but beyond that, I'm also just sort of like, I don't know, I'll get translators, you know.
But usually for the path rule, before we even had the asylum seeker situation, that they say you're not supposed to. All right. Every time you go to path, you have to have everybody in your family there, so they could be accountable for everybody in the family. So if the child goes to school, if you go to path 5 days, your kid have to miss school for 5 days. So if you get an
Wow.
eligible, yes.
And then you're like, is anyone surprised if kids fall behind?
They should be surprised. They should not be surprised, because if a
Right?
kid's gonna miss
I
every
was
single
like,
day, and then also after those 5 days, if you get denied, the process starts all over again. So you have to bring your kids again. They
you
said they
know,
stopped it. They stopped it in Corona, and they said they've been on the fence with this. It's very weird.
though, it's actually real, the maze that is, and the hoops that people need to kind of go through and go
Mhm.
over in order to um get the kinds of resources that they need is
Right.
hard in this country. It's like it's literally a full-time job, you know? And I think, like, I don't know, if you need to prove that you have a kid, like, you get their school records, you can prove that you have,
Right.
like, the school has the child every single day in class. They have
Yeah.
demanded the records that show you are their parent. Why does the child need to be in front of you in order, right? I mean, like we
Right.
make stuff onerous for people so
Right.
they can't get the services they need, or they end up, kids, for example, is a good example of, like, what are we putting our kids through then, or even ourselves, so that we could get the kid out of school so we could be there for sitting on a chair for 5 days, you know? And if you have a toddler and you're sitting there for 5 days, you have my, like, oh my gosh, right? I mean, so we
It's
just
a
make it
back and forth thing.
tougher.
Like, the thing was, it happened to me is that I'm sorry. When that happened to me, my daughter was very young, so luckily she only had daycare, so it wasn't a big deal. But I couldn't get there early enough because I had to go to work. And if I missed too much days of work, that I was not getting eligible, it was a problem. So after a certain amount of days, they tell you if you do this again, they won't give you house, they won't give you a shelter. So it's like I got to think
You
about
could
work
lose your job
or
too.
housing. So it's like I'm gonna be homeless with no job. So it's just like it's not a win-win situation for you. You're losing every single time because they don't see the importance of your job, even though they want you to work to be able to get out and get like it doesn't. It's an ongoing bad cycle. Like I was there every day. I literally had to come out to work, get my daughter go to work, and because you have to get there early in the morning. If you get there early in the morning, they'll help you and put you in a shelter. But if you get in the afternoon, they'll put you like in an overnight shelter and you have to come back in the morning. And I'm like, but I have to go to work. I can't afford to not go to work because that means I won't have any money for my child to eat. Food stamps is not enough. And after it was just an ongoing cycle of horribleness, to be honest. And I have my luggage, so I'm around New York City with my luggage, going to a temporary shelter overnight thing to go to work with my luggage. It was horrible. It was just horrible. So yeah,
I'm glad that you are in a more stable and safe place.
yes, it was. It could be a lot, but guys, we're not our stories. I'm definitely. I
You
don't
are
like. I
not
look
used
like
to. You are absolutely nope, 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 nope. That's
we're not
exactly right.
that. So I'm happy I don't look the way what I went through because that would have been rough to look the same way. But I just want you to come. Anybody who's listening to this, come out with the idea that people who are homeless or formerly homeless, or even people who are about to be homeless, is it's not their fault. That's one thing, and that it can happen to anybody and that they're not different than you and me. Well, I guess I don't count because I've been there, but anybody who has not been homeless and that is gonna be okay, and that have compassion with everybody, and that don't treat people a different way because you don't understand exactly how they got there, and just be an open ear and give them resources that they might need, and be a caring person. I think if we had more caring and loving people in the world wouldn't be so messed up. We'd have less violence. People would get help. People would be more understanding. And I think if we had more understanding in the world could be better. To be honest. But do you have any last words for the people, Marisol?
Listen to this podcast because
Thank
Khadijah
you.
is a wise woman.
Thank
So
you.
definitely it's just a great place to have resources and just to kind of like catch up on so much of what's happening in homelessness and housing in New York City. No, we just repeat something that I said earlier, which is really about the power of stories and having the each of us being able to tell our stories powerfully,
Right.
especially people with lived experience, to your point of like you're going to get out on the other side, you will be okay kind of thing, even though it's really hard and it doesn't look even remotely now like that's going to happen. That there's so much power. I just, when you talk about your story and you talk about the knowledge you have of the system, both as
Right.
someone who lived through it and now someone who's fighting within it to make things better for other people,
Right.
that's what real advocacy is, right? And so for you to continue to inspire others listening to this podcast to do the same, I think it's a beautiful thing. So I'm really honored to just have had a moment to sit here with you.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
Guys, we have come to the end of the podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a listener and be coming here every week and listening to what I have to say. And I hopefully it can be helpful. Hopefully that you take something back, and I hopefully that you can help your people in your community, no matter where you are. If you're a policymaker, please take what we say and be able to help the families and not just families, just people in general who need your help, who are basically living their life hoping that you can change the policy so they can be able to live a better life wherever they live. Because I know I have people from different states who come on and things like that. The people need your help. You are put in a position to make a difference, and that you should do your job in making the people's lives much better than the way you saw it when you came in. Um, Come back next week, and if you also join, make sure you press the subscribe button wherever you're listening to this at. Join our family. We're trying to grow our community on Facebook. So if you want to find us on Facebook, everything will be down below in the link tree. And thank you for being amazing. See you next time.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.